Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unpack a really fascinating devotional text titled The Radiance of a Life Governed by Truth. We'll be looking directly at what the source material says about what it actually looks like when Jesus, who is described here as the ultimate light, takes full control of a person's everyday life. We're going to focus specifically on how this completely transforms a young person's actions, their attitudes, and their heart. So, let's just dive right in. Okay, picture this. You wake up in the middle of the night, and you're trying to navigate a pitch-black room. Think about how scary and confusing it is when you absolutely cannot see where you're going. You're shuffling your feet, your hands are blindly waving out in front of you, and inevitably, boom, you end up painfully stubbing your toe on a piece of furniture you totally forgot was there. Well, the source text uses this exact, relatable concept of physical darkness to explain what it calls moral darkness, which is basically a state of confusion and pain where we can't see the right way to go, and we end up getting hurt, or worse, hurting the people around us. That universally frustrating experience of stumbling around in the dark perfectly sets up the context for our primary source text today. It anchors itself on a really famous quote from John chapter 8, verse 12. "He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life." The text reveals that, according to this framework, following Jesus means trading that scary, confusing moral darkness for clear, bright, and totally safe guidance. You just don't have to stumble around trying to figure out right from wrong all on your own anymore. All right, section 1, stepping into our shoes, taking on humanity. What's super interesting here is the exact phrasing the author uses. To bring this light down to our level, a massive intervention was actually required. The text states that Jesus took upon himself the form of sinful man, literally clothing his divinity with humanity. Basically, he stepped right into our shoes. He fully experienced the human condition. But the text makes a very firm distinction here. While he took on humanity, he remained completely pure, holy, and totally without a single spot or stain of sin. And this absolute purity, it's presented as the essential requirement for what happens next. Because he had no sin of his own, the text explains that he became our sin bearer to make what theologians call a propitiation. Now, if you aren't familiar with that word, propitiation basically just means someone stepping in to pay a massive debt they didn't owe, all to make things right for someone else. The text argues that only someone who is completely one with God in purity could possibly pay that kind of debt for the entire world. Since he didn't need an atonement for himself, he could be the one to provide it for us. Moving on to section 2, chasing away the shadows. Light reveals darkness. So the crucial point here is understanding how this divine light actually works when it collides with the darkness of our world. The text isn't just dealing with abstract theology, it's talking about a very real reaction that happens when perfect light enters a dark space. You know when you flip on a high-powered flashlight in a messy, pitch-black basement? Suddenly all the hidden shadows and clutter become incredibly obvious? Well, the text lays out a clear 3-step timeline for this. We start in step 1 with moral darkness. Then, in step 2, the true light shines when Jesus arrives. And by step 3, the contrast appears. The author writes, "If he were not light, the darkness would not be apparent, because light reveals darkness." The brighter the light, the more obvious our bad choices and messy mistakes become. It makes the contrast super clear, which finally allows us to see the mess so it can be cleaned up. The text then gives him these incredibly beautiful, descriptive names to emphasize this role: the bright and morning star, the sun of righteousness, and the true light. But I really want to draw your attention to that last one on the list. He is also called a physician and a healer. You see, the author explains that he came not just to shine a harsh spotlight on our flaws to make us feel bad, but he came as a healer whose goal is to actually restore the moral image of God that humanity lost. The light is literally meant to heal us from the inside. Section 3, real faith versus fake faith. Believing versus doing. Now, just acknowledging that the light exists or saying you like the light, that isn't quite enough to experience that healing. The text strongly warns its readers about something called nominal faith. Nominal faith is just saying you believe the truth, but your actual day-to-day actions don't change at all. The author states plainly that this kind of profession will not convert a person. It's kind of like owning a really expensive flashlight but completely refusing to put batteries in it. It's utterly useless in the dark. Contrast that with the alternative, being actual doers of the word. This is a real faith where your actions clearly demonstrate your belief, proving that the light has genuinely changed your heart. Which brings us to section 4, shining bright every day. Truth controls the life. This brilliantly illustrates what it actually looks like when a kid, or really anyone, lets Christ truly dwell in their heart, whether they're at home, at school, or hanging out with friends. First, the text talks about what the light removes. It explains that when Christ's presence is apparent, it chases away angry passions, hatred, and something called obstinacy. Now, if you've ever dealt with a teenager, or frankly, if you just look in the mirror sometimes, you know exactly what this is. Obstinacy simply means being super stubborn, digging your heels in, and absolutely refusing to listen, change, or cooperate. The text says that this kind of bitter stubbornness literally cannot survive in a heart that is filled with the light of truth. Instead, the argument here is that when truth controls your life, it results in real, tangible kindness and honesty. You begin to see a sweetness of temper, meaning you aren't just constantly snapping at people. You speak good and pleasant words to your siblings, your parents, and your classmates. There is purity, freedom from sin, and a total lack of evil surmising. And evil surmising just means you stop automatically assuming the absolute worst about everyone else's motives. This right here is what a child's life looks like when it is completely governed by this true light. The author actually sums up this entire transformation with a truly stunning sentence. The light of truth irradiates the soul temple. Irradiates means to illuminate or shine brightly upon. Basically, this means the presence of Jesus literally acts like a glowing 100-watt bulb inside your mind and your heart. When the understanding takes hold of Christ, as the text puts it, it lights you up from the inside out. It makes your life a shining, visible example of the completeness and freedom found in this gospel plan. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want you to ask yourself, if this text is right and Jesus is that revealing, healing light, what specific shadows in your own life does he need to chase away today? Is it a stubborn attitude? Is it unkind words you keep saying to a family member? Where do you need to let his bright, healing light shine right now to irradiate your own soul? Keep that provocative thought with you today as you consider what it really truly means to let truth control your life.